Enthusiastic introduction, folks. Got a very exciting video here for you today. I got a sneak peek at a very special prototype frame and naked GoPro mount by R3D Shifters. These guys make crazy low profile frames, super aerodynamic, optimizing center of gravity, really pushing the limits of whoops and open prop micro frames. So let's take a look at this build and see what it's all about. Alrighty, so here it is, the R3D Shifter. I believe this is called the Ion 2-inch with their Gopod naked GoPro mount. So I'm going to split this video up into two sections. One part reviewing the frame and one part reviewing the Gopod mount, because these are separate products. I'm going to start with my favorite part here, the Gopod mount. In my opinion, a direct competitor to the Beta FPV GoPro Lite mount and then the UMA 8595 mounts. And one quick thing before going any further, I just want to remind everyone that these are both prototype pieces here, so they are going to make some changes before these things are for sale. I sent them some feedback and it sounds like they are taking that feedback and they will be making some updates, so I really appreciate that. First thing you'll probably notice is it has an adjustable camera angle, which is really such an amazing piece. I had such a pain in the ass trying to get the UMA 8595 build to have an adjustable camera angle. I tried all these different tricks. If for anyone who built one of those, it's very difficult. And part of how they did that was, first of all, as you can tell, the camera is just a little bit off center, and I believe that's to relieve some of the stress that's on the ribbon cable. The ribbon cable is such a pain in the ass on these naked GoPro builds. And another thing they did to improve the ribbon cable situation, I can't show it right now because it's all built together, but there's a little tab on this top plate that's actually holding down the ribbon cable, keeping it in place, which was another thing for me that was such a pain. The ribbon cable would keep popping off in the middle of flights or during crashes, and I'd have to take the whole thing apart. But they've made a super strong case. I think it takes the best of both worlds. You have the sort of aerodynamics and low profile design of the UMA 8595 build, but you also have like the fully enclosed protection that the Beta FPV GoPro Lite build has. Little details here, they have, obviously you have the SD card slot, they have button access here. For folks who use the plug on the Beta FPV BEC, this is fully compatible with the Beta FPV BEC. That would pop in right here. I already direct soldered this. This is from another build, so I'm not using that. And I don't really use this, I think this HDMI, but for folks who use that, that's there. You may notice there's what looks like a cut here in the front. I actually accidentally snipped this TPU base here when I was opening the package. However, I glued it back up and it doesn't look great, but it still functions totally fine. So the way this GoPod works is it mounts on a whoop style, any whoop mounting. You can even mount it on something like this. I also have a long range build here that I'm gonna mount one of these onto here. I'll make a video on this in the near future. I've added some custom whoop mount here to this micro long range frame, Dave C FPV micro long range 4-inch frame. Back to the GoPod. They're also going to make a 20x20 mount. This one's a whoop mount. They're also going to make a 20x20 mount for other frames. This frame also comes with Cadex Vista mount. I'm not using a Cadex Vista, so I use it to put my cool LED strip back there, but it has a really nice Cadex Vista mount. And I'm going to be getting a couple more to put on some more of my builds and just see what sort of versatility this thing can handle. I weighed just the GoPod with the GoPro guts and lens and ND filter, and it came in right about 30 grams. And now onto the frame. I basically moved all my UMA 85 parts onto this frame. So these are the 1105 motors, Cadex Ratel. I have Crossfire with the Immortal T. I will say this frame is optimized for the smaller toothpick boards like this, the ones that have the USB plug going vertically. The board I'm using here is the V2 V3 Beta FPV board, and I did have some issues getting it to fit, but in the end I did get it in there. But if you are using this frame, I'd recommend these slightly smaller toothpick boards. They'll fit more easily in the frame, and the USB access will also be easier. And if you're not familiar with the R3D Shifters frame design, they're all about the crazy low profile. I mean, look at that. Everything is just so tightly packed in here. And part of how they did this was they widened the frame. This is like, for example, this is your Beta 85X frame. They widened it a little bit to fit the camera right in between, and you get really nice camera protection. And speaking of camera protection, and you can see here there's a nice adjustable mounting, so you can get the camera as close up to this little front piece here to keep it protected, but also keep everything in view. And here's some photos of the frame with the Caddx Vista. This is from R3D Shifters. This is their own build, and they claim to have their full Caddx Vista build at 122 grams. I can't verify that, but that's a super light build for a 2-inch Caddx Vista whoop. This build right here, and I'm using a bunch of extra nonsense, including the LED strip, a lot of extra wires, and the Crossfire Nano here, 103.7. As you can see in this clip, I did crash this thing straight into a tree trunk, and nothing ended up breaking. Nothing came loose on the GoPod. The frame stayed super strong. The frame is made of mostly nylon carbon fiber. What is that? I have no idea, but it sounds cool and it probably works great. See, it's pretty firm, but does have a little flex. One part of this frame I initially didn't like, and then I figured out how it worked, was the battery strap. It kind of has like a watch band setup with 2 different loops that the strap goes through, and it's very, once you get it hooked in there, it's hard to get it unhooked. So initially I was sort of putting a battery in, then every time I would take a battery out, I would try to unhook it, rehook it, and it was just so tightly in there, it was quite frustrating. And then I realized, well, it's pretty flexible, so I just kind of fit it to how I needed it, and then I just left it like that, and then I would just slide batteries in. I'm using, this is a 453S and this is a 524S. You know, I would just like use it as though it was kind of like a rubber band, and then just slide it in like that, and it works really great. I hated it at first, and now I love it. In addition to the great camera protection, there's also pretty good component protection. You can't really see under the GoPod all that well, but there's a canopy that's, you can kind of, it's this piece right here. There's a canopy that also covers the flight controller from above, and then underneath the battery strap, there's this pretty firm plastic piece covering all the guts in my very messy build down there. So everything feels super protected. One other nice piece about this frame is that, for some reason, so unlike the UMA 85 frame, you had to use motor plugs because it was very hard to direct solder the motors. All this crap was in the way, and also these little connecting parts were in the way getting to the flight controller. And with this design, you can easily solder the motor wires right to the flight controller. And if you want to use plugs, you certainly can. I prefer direct soldering for the extra efficiency. One thing I told the R3D Shifter folks was that the motor mount holes were super tight getting through here, and that's something they're going to fix. And then another challenge with this build was putting it all together. There's a lot of little pieces, and at the time that I received the prototype, they didn't have instruction video, and I am told that they are working on a instruction video to explain how this sort of thing comes together, because the stuff they make, it's not like a traditional build. Also want to mention, it does come with, the one they gave me came with here's a full-size DJI camera mount, and then for builds where you want to have the GoPod on a different frame and still have a camera mounted, I haven't tried this, but I believe you can sort of mount a camera to the GoPod itself if you're using it on a different build. So, and then this is another battery strap here that I haven't tried It's, you know, sort of a flexible TPU feeling thing. I feel like this is maybe a little small for the larger batteries. Haven't tried it, but comes with. Overall, between the three options, the OMA 85 style mount, the Beta GoPro Lite mount, and the Red Shifter GoPod, this is my favorite design that I've come across. I'm excited again to try it on other builds, do some more testing with it, and I will continue to post here as I do more testing. But I'm a big fan of what they've done, and I'll leave you with a little cruise and flight footage, and thanks for watching.